Now to South Carolina, where convicted murderer Alex Murdaugh is now facing new charges after being indicted by a federal grand jury. Murdaugh is facing 22 financial fraud charges, including money laundering. He's accused of cheating the estate of his late housekeeper and insurance carriers out of $3.5 million following his housekeeper's death in 2018. Murdaugh's lawyers say he is cooperating with authorities and that they believe the case will be resolved without going to trial. Murdaugh was sentenced to life in prison back in March for the murder of his wife and youngest son. Joining us now to discuss is NBC News legal analyst Danny Cevallos. Danny, good morning. So we first learned about the death of Murdaugh's housekeeper during this trial. His alleged conspirator in the fraud case, Corey Fleming, is expected to plead guilty in court today. What does that do for Murdaugh's case?
It makes it worse, but worse is a relative term. Murdaugh's federal case is about as bad for the defendant as it can get, and that's why it's going to be a guilty plea. This case will not go to trial for a number of different reasons, not the least of which is that Murdaugh took the stand himself under oath in his first state court criminal case and essentially admitted to most of the conduct that forms the basis for this federal indictment. And even if he hadn't done that, we already know the state introduced other evidence of all of his financial crimes. And then you add to that the fact that his co-conspirator has pleaded guilty, and you can expect that if this case were to go to trial, that might be a cooperating witness against him. This case was made months ago, maybe years ago, before the government even brought it to a grand jury for the indictment.
Let's talk about the specifics in the indictment. They accuse Murdaugh of routing and redirecting other clients' settlement funds to himself. And according to the indictment, the scheme lasted more than 15 years. So what is his defense going to look like here?
There is none. I handle cases like Murdaugh does. These are catastrophic personal injury cases. And here's the thing. Yes, most of what we attorneys do, especially with our client trust accounts, is on our honor. It's the honor system. So someone like Murdaugh can get away with some of these breathtaking, unimpressive scams for a while. But as soon as you arouse suspicion and there's an audit of these accounts, the case is over. It's all on paper. It is really easy to find out whether or not the client got the money or not. What makes this particularly galling to an attorney like me, and probably attorneys everywhere, is that Murdaugh had a lot of unsophisticated clients. That came out in his state court case. That was part of the state's theory there. So what makes it so sad to me is that we as attorneys gain the trust of our clients. In fact, that's why it's the client trust account. We're holding it in trust, and they count on us to do that. So yes, you can steal from them if you deceive them. And it makes it so sad to me. Look, attorneys, our client trust accounts, we can get disbarred if we just don't keep good records on them. That's how serious this is. And to see an attorney doing this allegedly, although it's so likely he's going to plead guilty, it's just shocking. It's the kind of thing that is very easily proven. Even without a cooperating witness, you just need to get the bank statements, the checks, all the paperwork, and most of the case kind of proves itself.
And aside from the fraud case, there's another case that he is set to be deposed in, a wrongful death lawsuit from a 2019 boat crash. Walk us through that one.
So essentially, the plaintiffs here are alleging that this is a kind of negligent entrustment, that Murdaugh, in letting someone, his son, operate the motor vehicle, in this case a boat, he did so negligently. But what this really is, negligent entrustment, these cases are normally brought when you have a tortfeasor, a bad guy like the driver of the boat, who simply doesn't have money to satisfy a judgment, and his son, his estate, whatever it may be, probably didn't. So you look around for someone like Murdaugh and his estate and his insurance policies that can at least begin to cover this loss. Although the reality is nothing, no amount of insurance policy is going to cover the loss that these parents suffered of their child being gone.
Still so much ahead for Alex Murdaugh in these cases. All right, Danny Cevallos, thank you so much.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.